She posted it at 7:42 p.m. I was stirring vodka sauce at the stove when my phone vibrated. Just a reflex, I wiped my hand on a dish towel and checked the screen. I wish I hadn't. There it was. A Facebook post. Her post. A photo taken mid-toast, probably with the portrait mode on. Camel at table, expensive wine. My wife. My actual wife. Leaning in toward a man whose hand was hovering just a little too comfortably behind her chair. The caption? Finally having dinner with a real man. She tagged him. Her boss. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't ambiguous. And it definitely wasn't innocent. Below it, the comments piled in. OMG, you two look so good together. Power couple. Fire, fire, fire. Girl, this is your era. There were hearts. Fire emojis. A few old college friends hyping her up with inside jokes I didn't recognize. I stood there, still holding the wooden spoon, the sauce starting to bubble too high. I turned the burner off. And then, without flinching, without blinking, I hit like. Wrote 2 words in the comments. Enjoy. Hit send. Then I took a screenshot of the post, photo, tags, timestamp, and the caption in bold, and walked over to my desk. I opened my laptop, found the company's HR email from when she forwarded me their benefits 4 months ago, attached the image, and added a single line. Thought you should see this. Then, before hitting send, I added one more recipient. Her boss's wife. I'd only met her once, at the company's holiday mixer 2 years ago. She was quiet, polished. She complimented my wife's dress. Said something about splitting time between Boston and Scottsdale. I remembered her name. I remembered her eyes, watchful. A woman who didn't miss much. Her email wasn't hard to find. People forget how searchable business filings are when you're on multiple boards. Subject line. Your husband. And mine. Click. Sent. I didn't slam anything. I didn't scream. I poured myself a glass of water, went back to the stove, and dumped the pasta down the garbage disposal. I didn't want to eat anymore. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't always come with thunder or knives. Sometimes it shows up in lowercase letters and filtered lighting, perfectly cropped for applause. And if you're one of the many listeners following along but haven't subscribed yet, do it. More than 90% of you haven't hit that button, and I promise, it keeps stories like this coming from the team. No pressure, just real stories. I sat down on the couch and turned the TV on. Muted. I just watched colors flicker across the screen. At 9:12, she texted, still wrapping up. Might be late. I didn't reply. She didn't ask if I ate. Didn't care that I was home alone on a Friday night, while she played whatever game she was playing in plain view of hundreds of people. By 10:30, the silence had a pulse. And then the phone rang. I let it buzz twice before answering. Her voice was light, almost laughing. Oh my God, you're not mad, are you? Come on, it was a joke. A joke, I said, not even looking at the phone. She kept going. It's just a funny caption. Everyone thought it was hilarious. Don't take it so personally, babe. I could hear the clink of glasses in the background, somewhere between a laugh and a cough. I'm not mad, I said. You've made yourself very clear. That quieted her for a second. Then she doubled down. Seriously, you're overreacting. You know I love you. It was just playful banter. God, you're being so sensitive lately. It's probably all that work stress. Gaslighting. Right on schedule. I'm fine, I said. Get home safe. And then I hung up. I stared at the screen. The call timer still blinking. The silence that followed was heavier than the noise. She thought it was over. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, is that the game had already started. And I don't bluff. At 10:43 p.m., she called again. I let it go to voicemail. 10 seconds later, the little red notification blinked, and I tapped play on speaker, leaning back in the chair like I was watching a bad rerun I already knew the ending to. Her voice came through, syrupy sweet, forced laughter barely masking the tension underneath. Babe, come on. Don't be so sensitive. It was a joke, she said, stretching the word like it was supposed to erase intent. You know I post silly stuff all the time. It's just social media. You know how that goes. I paused the voicemail there and stared at the wine glass she left in the sink this morning. Lipstick ring still visible. Crimson. Like a bullseye. She continued. You've been so distant lately. I thought maybe a little fun would remind you not to take everything so seriously. You know I love you. Don't be insecure, okay? It was just playful. Playful. There's a word that loses its meaning real fast when your wife uses it to describe calling another man a real man. While sharing wine you paid for on a night, she told you she was working late. I hit delete. Then, as if on cue, a text popped in right behind it. Are you seriously not talking to me now? This is immature. Immature. That's rich coming from a woman who just soft-launched her affair to 800 Facebook friends like it was a new fall wardrobe. Still, I didn't reply. I just pulled out a notebook from the drawer. One of those old-school spiral types she always teased me about. Said I was the last dinosaur on paper. I flipped it open to a blank page and wrote at the top, Day 1, the voicemail. Then a single note under it. Mocking tone. Deflection. Downplayed guilt. No remorse. She didn't realize it yet, but she'd just given me a timestamp. A legal breadcrumb. Because the thing about jokes is, when they're explained under oath, they lose their charm real quick. At 11:10, she texted again. Are we really doing this? Talk to me. No, we're not doing this. You're doing this. I'm just documenting it. Outwardly, I stayed calm. Inwardly, I'd already replayed the entire next week in my head like a chess match I'd watched before. Step by step. No shouting. No scenes. She thought she could joke her way out of it. Pretend the comment was harmless. Pretend I was being overly dramatic. Pretend everything would just slide back into normal by Monday. But here's the thing. She didn't marry a man who plays defense. And if you're listening and nodding because you've been there, quietly insulted, dismissed, made into a walking punchline in your own home, take notes. This isn't rage. This isn't revenge show. This is planning. Silence is a blade when it's in the right hands. By midnight, she'd stopped texting. I imagine she fell asleep thinking the storm had passed. That by morning I'd have cooled off, made coffee, maybe even apologized for making things weird. She had no idea what was already in motion, what HR had already seen, what I knew about her boss's wife, what was buried in our prenup's fine print. She had no clue that I wasn't reacting anymore. I was executing. The HR auto reply came in at 7:46 a.m. Cold, sterile, and templated. Thank you for contacting Corporate Human Resources. This mailbox is monitored during normal business hours. Your concern has been logged and will be reviewed by a member of our compliance team. No apology. No name. No emotion. Perfect. I didn't need urgency. I needed recorded traction. I starred the email, then moved on with my morning. Made eggs. Watered the plants. Cleaned out the coffee maker filter she always forgets to rinse. At 2:08 p.m., the real response came, but not by email. My phone rang. Unlisted number. East Coast area code. I picked up. Hello, is this Mr. Kellen Green? The voice was crisp. Female. Not young, not old. The kind of voice that never raises volume, just expectation. Yes. This is Deborah Lee from Corporate HR Compliance at Avantera. We're following up on the materials you submitted yesterday evening. I said nothing. Let her keep talking. We've reviewed the image attached and would like to confirm a few details with you directly, if that's all right. Go ahead. She paused, probably to hit record. Can you verify the date and time the post was made? Friday night, 7:42 p.m. You'll find the timestamp in the screenshot I attached. And do you have any reason to believe that your wife and Mr. Sam Dorrance were alone at the dinner in question? They were the only ones in the photo. 2 wine glasses. Candle between them. 1 appetizer shared. 1 bill, I assume. I let that hang. Understood. Is there any record of the reservation? Yes. The restaurant is called Dunlin House, corner of 5th and Covington. She made the reservation under her name. Probably open table. She always uses it because she wants the points. Deborah was quiet on the other end. No typing. Just breathing. Right, she finally said. Mr. Green, thank you for your time. We may be in touch again shortly, depending on how we proceed internally. You're welcome, I said. Before she could hang up, I added. Oh, and you'll want to check if they expensed it. That landed. A second of actual silence, then, thank you again. Click. That was the moment the story stopped being personal and started becoming procedural. Once HR is involved, it's not about feelings. It's about optics, compliance, liability. The first ripple had hit. And if you're wondering how far ripples go, ask someone in upper management what they fear more, a lawsuit or a Facebook post going viral with their name tagged next to a married subordinate. By 3:30, I received a delivery notification from Dunlin House confirming Jane Green had a reservation for 2 at 7:15 p.m. the night before. I archived it. Another breadcrumb. At 4:12, her boss, Sam Dorrance, posted a photo of his home office view with a lake behind him. Caption, recharging for a big week ahead. Comments filled with peace signs and productivity mantras. But I noticed something. The timestamp on the photo, 4:07. The lake behind him, it wasn't his home. It was from a stock image. I did a reverse search. Took all of 2 minutes. He'd grabbed a royalty-free photo to sell the illusion he was somewhere else, somewhere peaceful. Why lie about being home? Because he wasn't home. He was hiding. I screenshotted that too. Small things add up. They always do. And the people who treat appearances as reality, they're the easiest to break. Because when their image starts to slip, they scramble. They overcorrect. And when they overcorrect, they leave footprints. So I waited. Patient. Focused. He thought HR would coddle him. He didn't know what was already sitting in the inbox of their internal legal counsel. The ice had cracked. He just didn't hear it yet. It was nearing 9:30 p.m. when the message came in, just a short buzz from a number I didn't recognize. Out-of-state area code. No name. Who are you, and why did you CC me on that? I set the phone down on the coffee table and watched it like it might start hissing. There's something uniquely unsettling about receiving a message from the quiet observer. The one who wasn't supposed to be involved, yet suddenly is. The kind of person who's not caught off guard. They're just verifying. I picked the phone back up and typed slowly, deliberately. Because you deserve to know. No signature. No elaboration. Just truth. She didn't reply right away. I muted the television. Picked up the remote. Put it down. Walked into the kitchen, poured half a glass of scotch, and stood by the window, watching the cul-de-sac breathe its usual still, suburban rhythm. Lights on in the distance. A couple walking their dog. Nothing felt different out there. But inside me, the air was humming. At 10:47 p.m., the second message came through. No greeting. No emoji. No hysteria. Just, I'm on my way there. I have something for him. I stared at the screen. Now we need to talk. Now what else do you know? Just that. 12 words that carried the gravity of a courtroom gavel and the silence of a closed casket. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Whatever she was carrying, rage, paperwork, or both, it wasn't mine to direct. I had simply handed her the map. What she chose to do with it was her war now. But still, my mind started ticking. Was she bringing evidence? Luggage? A folder of printed screenshots and a ring box taped shut? Or was it something worse? Something colder? People talk about revenge like it's dramatic. Fireworks. Confrontations. But the truth? Revenge, real revenge, is often silent, deliberate, and dressed in heels. And I had a distinct feeling that Sam Dorrance's wife wasn't coming to cry. She was coming to close something. I glanced at the clock. 10:52. By now, the maitre d' at Dunlin House would have cleared their table. Coffee would have been poured. My wife would be at her most performative, laughing too loudly, nodding too much, eyes locked on Sam like a prize she thought she'd won. She would have never seen the car pull up outside. And Sam probably thought his greatest threat was some HR memo on Monday. He didn't know what it looks like when a woman finds out she's been made a fool of in front of strangers, in front of networks. They always underestimate quiet wives, especially the ones who sign their own checks. I turned my phone face down and went upstairs. Whatever happened next wasn't mine to interrupt, but it would leave a mark. Because when the other betrayed spouse enters the game, it stops being chess. It becomes fire. At 11:03 p.m., the phone rang. I didn't need to see the caller ID. The vibration had a frequency panic always finds. I let it buzz once, twice, then answered without speaking. Her voice hit immediately, cracked, frantic, 1 part fury, 3 parts fear. What did you do? No preamble. No hello. I stayed quiet. She just walked into the restaurant. With Fing divorce papers. Her breathing was ragged, like she'd sprinted while screaming. She slammed them on the table, right in front of the maitre d'. Sam was trying to stand up, and she tore his napkin in half and just walked out. Tore his napkin. Of course she did. That woman understood symbolism better than any HR department ever could. I imagined it. The silence that must have settled like fog over the restaurant. Diners glancing over their wine stems. Servers freezing mid-pour. My wife's perfect little performance shattered by the entrance of a wife who didn't make a scene. She made a statement. The silence must have been biblical. And then came the whispers. I could hear it now. My wife scrambling for dignity while Sam Dorrance sat there, white as his untouched bread plate, wondering how the hell the world collapsed between the risotto and the tiramisu. She was still shrieking into the phone. You sent it to her? What the hell were you thinking? I leaned against the kitchen counter. The granite was cold. Grounding. I just pressed send, I said calmly. That stopped her for a beat. You think this is funny? Her voice shook. You humiliated me. You humiliated us. Oh, I said, with just enough weight to slice. Now we're a we again. Silence. She realized it then. Not the affair. Not the email. Not the fallout. She realized I wasn't angry. I was done. She started, then stopped. You don't understand. Sam, he's going to lose everything. This is his career. His wife, she's going nuclear. Good, I said. Maybe she'll wipe the smug off his LinkedIn photo. The pause that followed stretched long and hollow. I could picture her sitting in the car, makeup smudged, dress wrinkled, everything she built on ego and flirtation turning to ash. You always do this, she whispered. You make everything so calculated. So cold. I smiled. Not because it was funny, but because it was accurate. You posted a photo, I said softly, telling the world you were having dinner with a real man. I waited a second. Now you get to watch what a real man does. I ended the call, not because I was done talking, but because there was nothing left to say. Her world was already in freefall. The boss she thought protected her, unraveling. The power she thought she held, gone. All it took was one email. And a napkin, apparently. I walked to the sink, rinsed a dish, and thought, not for the first time, that the most poetic punishments don't come from rage. They come from precision. Sunday, for 16 p.m. Her car crawled into the driveway slower than usual, like it was ashamed to be seen. I watched from the upstairs window, sipping coffee that had long gone cold, letting her sit with the suspense of not knowing what would meet her on the other side of the door. She stepped out still wearing last night's dress, only now it was wrinkled, tired, and missing a button. No heels, just flats she probably kept in the car for emergencies. Hair up, sunglasses on, pretending this was just another Sunday, like she'd been out with friends or gone antiquing. She walked to the front door and tried her key. It didn't work. The deadbolt held firm. Click, click, click. Then a pause. Then again, click. She stared at the door like it had betrayed her. I let her try twice more before walking downstairs and opening it myself. When she saw me standing there, calm, steady, holding nothing but a manila envelope, her mouth opened, then shut again. Did you change the locks? She asked, incredulous. Yes. You can't do that. I did. She blinked. I live here. Not anymore, I said, stepping aside just enough to reveal the boxes in the garage behind her. 8 total. Labeled. Folded clean. Her name printed on each in permanent marker. On top of the nearest one was a yellow envelope. Heavier stock paper. Sealed with a simple paper clip. I nodded toward it. It's the property split. Notarized. Clean. You'll find I was generous. She stood there frozen, like a sim character whose path had been blocked by a glitch in the code. Her mouth worked, but her brain was still buffering. You're kicking me out. I'm separating myself from the source of the problem. After one post, she spat. No, I said. After the years that led to it. Her eyes flicked toward the boxes, then to the envelope, then back to me. I don't have anywhere to go tonight, she said quietly. That's unfortunate. You're really going to just throw me out like garbage? Garbage doesn't get labeled, wrapped, and notarized. She stepped forward like she might try to push past me, but I didn't move. Instead, I reached into my back pocket and pulled out a second envelope. White this time. Thinner. She took it without thinking, opened it, scanned the front page. Froze. This is an NDA, she said, confused. For both of us. But especially you. You think you can just... No, I don't think. I know. Because while you were out posting pictures of your affair, I was reviewing the joint business filings, our retirement account history, and your little mentorship payments from Sam. Her lips parted. I leaned in, quiet. You want this to end clean? Sign it. You want to drag it into drama? That envelope, I nodded to the one on the box, becomes Exhibit A. She didn't respond. She didn't have to. There was a crack in her face I hadn't seen in years. The look of a woman who always thought she was in control, finally realizing she wasn't even at the table anymore. You planned this, she said. No, I corrected. You planned it. I just adjusted the timeline. She stood there for a full minute before backing away. Slow. Staring at the house like it had turned on her. She didn't take the boxes. Not yet. But she took the NDA. And that was all I needed. Monday, 8:47 a.m. Her office inbox was still active, barely. Just long enough for me to track the auto-forward I'd once set up to keep tabs on shared bills and school emails. It pinged one last time before silence. An HR memo. Subject line, temporary reassignment of leadership responsibilities. Translation, Sam Dorrance, her boss, the real man from the Friday night dinner post, was on indefinite leave. No fanfare. No announcement in the morning huddle. Just a line in the daily brief and a last-minute shuffle of client calls. The whispering started before she even walked in. Did you see the post? HR got involved. Someone sent screenshots. His wife showed up? Like physically? At the table? I wasn't there, but I know exactly how it unfolded. Offices are predictable ecosystems. Her coworkers didn't say anything directly, but they made sure she heard everything. The ones who used to hover by her desk now kept their distance. The friendly glances at the coffee machine turned into quiet nods. Nobody wanted to catch crossfire from the fallout. 9:11 a.m. She walked into her office, shut the door, and probably stared at her monitor like it could fix this. 9:17 a.m. Internal message popped up. Please report to HR, 7th floor. Confidential. The kind of message that turns your stomach before you even finish reading it. She went upstairs. Stiff. Controlled. Still in damage control mode. I could imagine the exact outfit. Neutral blouse, blazer, minimal makeup, trying to scream professionalism louder than the echo of that Facebook caption. The HR room was waiting. 2 people. One with a folder. One with a laptop already open. They didn't offer coffee. Was the relationship consensual? A simple question. Surgical. She hesitated. That alone was enough. They already knew. They had screenshots, pulled from internal monitoring. They had timestamps. They had the reservation data, which Deborah from HR had followed up on Saturday. They had the comment threads, the expense reports, and the chat logs between her and Sam from the company's Teams platform. She tried to explain. I don't doubt it. Probably framed it as mentorship. Maybe even flirted with the idea of saying it was emotional support during a rough quarter. But the digital trail didn't lie. And neither did the quiet shake in her voice when they asked about her husband, the one she humiliated publicly. They didn't yell. They didn't accuse. They just asked. And recorded. She left the room 27 minutes later, pale and blinking too much. Not crying. Not yet. The worst hadn't come. That came at 12:04 p.m., when her badge stopped working on her email login. Access revoked. By 12:15, 2 co-workers had already noticed. One of them texted a friend in another department. By 12:32, a thread had started on the company's internal Slack, quietly titled Sam and Jane, with a series of eye emojis and one meme of a dumpster fire. I didn't celebrate. I didn't need to. She had spent years building a brand, smart, competent, empowered. And now, every carefully crafted inch of that image was crumbling, not because of the affair, but because she did it publicly, loudly, and then got caught. People don't whisper because they hate you. They whisper because they used to respect you, and now they're recalibrating. And no matter how hard she tried to salvage her standing in that building, she couldn't untag herself from her own post. Couldn't scrub the wine glass, the smile, or the caption that started it all. By the time she made it back to her office that afternoon, she was no longer a leader. She was a liability. Tuesday morning, 9:02 a.m. She sat across from her lawyer, probably the same boutique firm she once bragged about using just in case, when we signed the prenup over cocktails and condescension 12 years ago. Back then, she called it a formality. You know, just so my parents don't panic about my trust, she said, sipping a cucumber martini. We'll never need it. Now she needed it. Desperately. Except it wasn't her weapon anymore. The lawyer, young, polished, dead-eyed, flipped through the pages with a highlighter in hand and a look that said, you should have read this more carefully. Clause 9.3. See, in the event of demonstrable public infidelity by either party, all jointly acquired assets revert to the party not responsible for the breach. Digital posts, statements, or documented third-party reports are considered admissible evidence if confirmed by legal or corporate authority. Her Facebook post? Qualified. My comment? Proof of awareness. The forwarded email? Sealed the coffin. Screenshots. Timestamped. Linked. Verified. They even had location metadata confirming she'd posted from the restaurant in question. Her own phone had testified against her. Her lawyer cleared his throat, lips thin. This might be catastrophic. Her mouth opened, then closed. For once, no retort. No counter. Just a soundless gulp like someone trying to swallow cement. He's not who I thought he was, she whispered. The lawyer glanced up. You mean your husband? She didn't answer. Of course I wasn't. She thought I was passive. A spreadsheet-loving, chore-doing, conflict-avoiding placeholder of a man. The type who would grumble, get sad, maybe crash on a friend's couch for a week before forgiving her because marriage is complicated. But I wasn't built for scenes. I was built for systems. And she forgot that I wrote ours. By noon, she was reviewing bank statements for accounts she no longer had access to. My lawyer had already filed a motion to split assets per the prenup's infidelity clause. Emergency hearing pending. Her favorite savings account? Closed. My name had been removed from her car title 2 weeks earlier. After a subtle refinance she never questioned because I'd framed it as debt consolidation. I wasn't just one step ahead. I was playing a different game altogether. At 1:44 p.m., She called me. I didn't answer. She texted at 1:46. Can we talk without lawyers? I replied at 2:02. We never needed lawyers. You just never needed me, until now. By 2:30, her lawyer had begun redrafting her expectations. Gone was the idea of walking away with half. Gone was the notion of starting fresh in a new city with a settlement. What she faced now was salvage. And even that would be conditional. Humiliation, it turns out, wears a tailored suit when it walks into a lawyer's office and hands you your own contract, highlighted and initialed by you. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It just hands you the pen and asks politely, "Where would you like to sign, Jane?" By Thursday morning, she had spun the whole thing into a new narrative. She wasn't the adulterer. She was the victim of a malicious campaign. Her husband, me, had orchestrated a setup to ruin her reputation, and her employer had allowed it to escalate. Sam, just collateral damage in an elaborate revenge plot born from jealousy and control. She sent a formal complaint to HR alleging retaliation, said the Facebook post was intentionally misinterpreted, that I'd manipulated a private moment for public humiliation, that I'd weaponized an internal relationship to sabotage her career. What she failed to realize, spectacularly, is that you can't claim to be framed when you posted the confession yourself. The company's response came swiftly and with all the warmth of dry ice. They called her in, sat her down. For people this time, 2 from legal, 1 from HR, 1 unfamiliar name she'd probably never met, corporate risk oversight. They presented a packet. Her post, the comments, the timestamps, expense reports tied to her department code, hotel reservations from 2 months earlier that had been flagged in an unrelated audit, rooms booked under her name, but checked in by someone else, the dinner receipt from Dunlin House, the internal chat logs between her and Sam, flagged for unprofessional tone back in April but left unreviewed, and finally, her attempt to spin it into retaliation. The woman from Risk read the final line from the company's personal conduct clause out loud, like a benediction. Any relationship that compromises or appears to compromise professional judgment, objectivity, or the interests of the company may be grounds for disciplinary action, including termination. Not when proven, just appears to compromise. Then they handed her the termination letter. With cause, her badge was deactivated within the hour. And as she was packing up the remnants of her career into a recycled printer paper box, barely used ergonomic mouse, 2 dried-out pens, and a plaque that read, "Well-behaved women rarely make history." Another blow landed from an angle she never saw coming. Sam's wife. She didn't just file for divorce. She filed a civil suit against both her husband and the company. Claim, emotional distress, reputational harm, and negligent supervision. And the centerpiece of her evidence? The Facebook post, the one with my wife beaming in candlelight, captioned, "Finally having dinner with a real man." She filed the suit in a jurisdiction known for punishing corporations with deep pockets and poor HR documentation. A lawyer friend of mine called it a corporate coffin corner. The company scrambled. They sent out an internal memo with soft language, commitment to integrity, evaluation of personal conduct, transition planning. Sam, gone. Quietly. No fanfare. No goodbyes. My wife. Blacklisted. Word spread fast in their niche industry. Firms don't hire the subject of HR scandals, they study them. The story was already moving through back channels, whispers during Zoom calls, water cooler TikToks, private LinkedIn messages. And me? I didn't send a single follow-up. No press. No quote. No rage tweet. I let them do all the work themselves. All I did was open a window, and they happily walked out of it. 2 weeks later, I was in the backyard, trimming the hedges by the south fence. The one she always complained blocked the neighbor's view. I never understood why that mattered. Now I didn't have to pretend to. The shears hissed quietly with each cut. Steady rhythm. Clean lines. The lawn looked almost smug in its symmetry. Peace has a strange way of creeping in, not with fanfare, but with mundane routines finally free of friction. My tablet buzzed on the patio table. I wiped my hands, picked it up, and tapped open the news alert. Local business section, Tuesday feature. Executive fired after affair scandal. Wife's Facebook post sparks internal shakeup. Below the headline, a photo of Sam Dorrance in a blazer that suddenly looked 2 sizes too big. The article ran through it all: the social media incident, the HR investigation, the abrupt terminations, the pending civil suit filed by his now estranged wife. Not once did it mention my name. Not even a whisper. That was the most satisfying part. The spotlight stayed on the people who built their castles on ego and flirtation. I had become invisible again, intentionally, surgically, legally. I scrolled through the piece slowly, savoring each paragraph like a slow sip of scotch. The final quote was from a company spokesperson. "We are taking all necessary steps to reinforce our internal standards and preserve our corporate integrity." I laughed, not loudly, just enough that the dog raised an eyebrow from where he was dozing on the porch. Inside the house, everything was where it belonged. My accounts had been split, investments shifted. The property deed had been quietly moved into a trust under a new name, a name she'd never recognize, even if she stumbled across it in a database. The joint accounts? Closed. Her access to utilities? Cut. No more Amazon packages charged to my card. No more accidental Instacart orders on my account. The house was quiet. Deliciously so. That's when the phone buzzed again. Voicemail. I didn't need to check the number. I tapped play. Her voice, small this time. Meek. "Hey, I know you're probably not going to answer, but can we talk?" She let the silence hang, trying to create a crack of empathy in a man she once dismissed as boring. "I miss you. I didn't think it would get this bad. Maybe we could just talk." Click. No tears. No apology. Just a lifeline tossed into a sea she no longer had the strength to swim in. I deleted it. Didn't save it. Didn't replay it. Didn't flinch. Some doors don't slam shut. Some just quietly seal, airtight, with no hope of a handle on the other side. The wind picked up through the hedges. For the first time in years, I heard it. Really heard it. Uninterrupted. No sighs from another room. No passive-aggressive coughs behind walls. No carefully chosen silence meant to manipulate. Just wind. Peace doesn't announce itself. It just arrives when you've cleared the wreckage. And I had. Trimmed. Cut. Burned if needed. She used to say I was predictable. She had no idea how much planning real men do in silence.